Hello and welcome to the Science Overview at MPCAT. My name is Mr Webster and I'm the Trust Director of Science. The aim of tonight's session is to make sure students are fully prepared for their first set of Year 11 assessments. All of our MPCAT schools follow the AQA specification. Students at Trinity will either be on the GCSE Combined Science Trilogy course or will be studying separate subjects biology, chemistry and physics. We're going to start by looking at some of the exam subject content required. All students will sit a paper 1 in biology, chemistry and physics. For biology, that subject content required includes cells and transport, infectious disease, organisation and bioenergetics. All this information can be found in the Year 11 Science Assessment Point 1 Pupil Information Booklet. For chemistry paper 1, the subject knowledge required is atomic structure in the periodic table, quantitative chemistry, bonding, chemical changes and energy changes. For physics, paper 1 content includes energy, electricity, atomic structure and particle model. The GCSE Combined Science Trilogy papers will be 1 hour and 15 minutes long, and the GCSE Triple Science Biology and Chemistry and Physics papers will be 1 hour and 45 minutes long. Students will either sit the higher tier paper or the foundation tier paper. For the higher tier paper, 40% of marks cover grades 4 to 5 and 60% of the marks cover grades 6 to 9. For the foundation paper, 40% of the marks cover grades 4 to 5 and 60% of the marks cover grades 1 to 3. It's important students recognise that the papers do not get progressively harder, and if they get stuck on a certain question, then they should move on to the next question and not give up. The paper starts with a confidence building section, and for the higher tier paper that will mean questions around the 4 and 5 grade mark. For the foundation tier that will be questions around the 1 to 3 grade mark. The consolidating section in the middle will vary, and this paper will finish with the more challenging questions. The exam paper is split between 3 separate assessment objectives. Assessment Objective 1 requires students to demonstrate their understanding, and this covers 40% of the exam paper. Command words for Assessment Objective 1 include examples such as describe, identify, write, give and name. Basically, students have to recall knowledge. Assessment Objective 2 requires students to apply that knowledge, and this covers 40% of the exam paper. Command words for Assessment Objective 2 include suggest, explain and plan. Students may come across unfamiliar questions, and at this point students need to think about the content they have learned and how they can apply it to this unfamiliar question. For 20% of the exam, students are required to analyse information or data. And command words associated with Assessment Objective 3 include justify and evaluate. All GCSE papers require an element of math skills. For biology it's 10%, chemistry 20% and physics 30%. It is therefore important that students bring a calculator that they are familiar with using. For the foundation tier science paper, the maths questions will be at least to a Key Stage 3 standard. For the higher science paper, the maths questions will be at least to the standard of a GCSE foundation maths paper. 15% of the paper will be based around the required practicals. For biology, for paper 1, that will include microscopy, osmosis, enzymes, food tests, photosynthesis, and for triple students, culturing microorganisms. For chemistry, the 15% required practical questions could come from making salts, electrolysis, temperature change, and for triple students, neutralization. For physics, the required practicals include specific heat capacity, resistance and length of wire, IV characteristics, density of materials, and for triple students, insulation. Good exam technique is crucial and will avoid students dropping any unnecessary marks. It's really important that students read the information in the question carefully. It's tempting to go straight to the question, but that will put students at a significant disadvantage. Then read the question carefully, identifying any command words. It's sometimes useful to underline these command words. Look at the number of marks available. Reread the question. Identify the command word again, and that will give you a clue into how to answer the question. Give as short an answer as possible, as concise as possible, and make sure it's based on the number of marks available. Then check your answer. If it's a maths-based question, make sure all the working out is shown, as even if the final answer is wrong, you may still pick up a few marks. And most importantly, always attempt every question. Do not leave anything blank on an exam paper. There are a whole range of revision materials available. The Year 11 Assessment Point Pupil Information Booklet references the pages from the GCSE Combined Science CGP revision guides. These are available from school. Each student will also receive a core knowledge organiser for each topic, including the required practicals, and students have access to a number of online platforms such as GCSE Bitesize and GCSEPOD. All students have access to GCSEPOD. GCSEPOD has hundreds of different pods available for all topics studied in science. Each pod varies from 2.5 to 6 minutes in length. Students can make playlists and plan out the pods they need to watch for the following week. There is also the opportunity for students to check their understanding of topics, and Check and Challenge is a great resource for this. Students can work through a set of multiple choice questions and get given feedback whether they get the answer right or wrong. Staff will set assignments on GCSEPOD for students who need to complete them at home. This will involve watching a pod and answering some questions based on that topic. For the chemistry papers, students will always be given a periodic table, and it's really important that students use this throughout the exam. If students forget what the periodic table represents, there's a key available. Students need to remember a whole range of equations, mainly in physics but also in chemistry and biology. Students will be given flashcards and need to go away and learn these equations. Some equations are given in the physics exam on the physics equation sheet. Intervention at Sacred Heart. Targeted intervention groups run every evening, Monday to Thursday. These sessions are invitation only. Period 6 revision classes are open to all of our Year 11 students and take place on a Wednesday, 2:45 until 3:30. The timetable of the topics covered each week is on the slide. All Year 11 students are set weekly GCSEPOD assignments to help them with their revision. They can also access the Check and Challenge part of GCSEPOD. All classwork is uploaded onto Google Classrooms for easy access. There's a huge amount of content for science, so one tip would be to use a revision timetable. Look at the content required and spread it out over the next few weeks, making sure you interleave and go backwards and forwards to topics. Following on from the exam, students will be given a detailed QLA document. This will identify question by question how students performed. The top questions in which students have done well in will be identified, as well as the ones that need to be revised as a priority. This will hopefully inform students' revision at home, but also inform the intervention within the department. Just to reiterate one final piece of advice: attempt every question. All this information can be found in the Assessment Point 1 Pupil Information Booklet. I hope this has been useful. Any questions, please ask your teacher. And finally, good luck.